Starting, and we're live.
All right.
Go ahead and kick it off, Paul.
Hey guys, I wanted to welcome everyone to another episode of the Hard Work Fixes Everything channel. Today we're going to talk about a little bit different subject than what we had been talking about in the past. Normally we've been talking about some fitness related stuff, some EDC, some guns. Today is going to be a little bit of a more of a personal development day or personal development talk. So we're just going to talk about things to make you a better person, better American. So the title of this show, I think we kind of called it two different things. I think Hunter referred to it as "What to Do When Your Life Becomes a Dumpster Fire." I think I titled it "How to Eat a Soup Sandwich." So two different subject, two different names, but really the same thing. And the point of this talk is to kind of go through the steps of what do you do when everything falls apart, and whether that be in life in general, professionally, in a relationship, financially, whatever it is you got going on, how you're going to pick up the pieces, come up with a plan of action, and move forward. So, um, and this is going to be kind of an open forum talk. So, Hunter, feel free to jump in where you see fit. So, kind of how this talk came about is Monday. I had a real Monday, like everybody does from time to time. But I had a couple things that were going on with work that just, you know, a couple projects that just completely, like the wheels fall off the wagon, right? And I was spending most of my day Monday in basically fire drill mode. There wasn't progress being made. It was more putting out fires and trying to move forward or just keep everything from just collapsing around me. So it was really overwhelming. And I remember Monday afternoon just feeling like the walls were caving in. So I kind of remember back to a couple times where I'd been there before. It wasn't the first time. Uh, I'm
There's
liking this. Great.
some love, yeah, some love to some people watching.
So it I thought back to times where this has happened to me before, and kind of advice I give to people who are younger, people who are going through uh, tough times like this, and anything else. Um, so the first thing you got to do is when so I'm going to use as an example of let's pick something easy. Let's say that something at work, is going south for you. Um, Depending on your occupation, what you do, that may not necessarily be, you might not be at a management level, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. And so maybe, you show up, do your hard days of hard labor, your work, and, you hit the road. And there's completely nothing wrong with that. But, I'm responsible for managing stuff. So I had things completely fall apart on me. So the first thing you have to do is you have to be able to just look at the situation and look at it without emotion or completely subjectively, I guess, is objectively, sorry, completely objectively first, and look at it and say, okay, what's going on? What's the biggest risk? And let's list them, what we need to do, and then come up with a plan to fix it. That's step one for anything. Uh, you know, uh, Jocko talks about in the book about I say the book. He talks about in one of his books about prioritizing and executing, and that's basically the prioritizing part of it. So that first part is not to figure out why what fell apart. So like if you're going to use the example of you come home one day and you and your girlfriend, spouse, whatever, get into it, and she's walking out the door about to go get an airplane to leave to go back to her parents' house. You, that's not the time to figure out why you fought in the first part. You better keep her from getting on the plane, right? So, I mean, I'm using this as an example, but um, it's prioritize and execute. So we're gonna figure out what needs to happen in the order it needs to happen. And that needs to happen quick. And this isn't a blame game. It's not like a. It's not like a. This isn't the time for feelings to say. Check it out and see what's going to go on from there. The next thing you need to do from that is once you get that plan, you need to stick with the plan. You need to bury your head, and get in there, roll up both shirt sleeves, and get after it. You should be getting after it anyway, but you really need to. The channel is titled "Hard Work Fixes Everything" for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So once you come up with a plan, you need to get in there and start making things happen. The second phase is prioritize then execute, and you can't execute by sitting on your laurels. Um, that's really the two main things that need to happen. However, at some point, once you've let the smoke clear a little bit, then it's time to go back and do a, I don't want to say after action review, but you need to go out and figure out why things fell down in the first place, why they completely fell apart. And you need to give that thing an honest assessment. Was it things that were out of your control? Was it weather? Was it somebody was crazy? Would I mean, like if the stock market crashed and you lost a bunch of 401k money, I don't know there's a whole lot you could have done with that, right? However, if you spent all of your 401k money on lottery tickets over the last 3 years, that's probably was enough, unless you hit it. If you'd won it, then you wouldn't be having this conversation. But um, you need to do a self assessment, not only to yourself, but to other people involved too. Like if me and Hunter sign up for let's use this as an example. Me and Hunter, we decide, hey, we're going out west to go do an elk hunt, and we get up there and we've been out there for 12 days and we've both got tags. Neither one of them have been filled yet. This trip's starting to turn into a dumpster fire, right? like things are getting pretty serious. So first thing we need to do is come up with a plan of, all right, how are at least one of us going to get a tag, preferably two, but how are two of us going to fill a tag? And then let's go try to work on that. Then on the plane ride home, me and Hunter are probably going to need to have an honest conversation. Like, hey, what did we do wrong? What did we do right? Hey, when I decided that we needed to, get an extra 3 hours of sleep on night number three and not break camp early and go on up the mountain, was that a tactical mistake on my part? Was my snoring keeping the animal?
I shouldn't eat all these beans around camp and farted and then was going to the hill. I can totally look that one up. I'll go ahead and volunteer myself for that.
There you go. So Hunter completely cleared the south side of the mountain.
That's valid. Valid.
Like that scene from Blazing Saddles with all the cowboys sitting around at night.
That's pretty much what me and Caroline do when we go camp. We sit around.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Food, drink.
And when I'm saying this stuff is it makes it sound like it's so easy. Like I'm just like, oh yeah, your life's completely falling around you. Yeah, just make a list of things in the order they need to happen and just go do it. And it's not that easy. I'm completely oversimplifying it, but at the same time, it's not a. I think it's a phrase you use often, Hunter. It's not complicated, but it's not easy. Right? It's what's the term you use?
Easy.
What's
simple,
that?
just not easy.
Yeah, there you go. So it's simple. It's just not easy. So you're gonna have something that's going on, and this isn't groundbreaking to anybody. I mean, anyone who's lived uh, even a short amount of time on Earth realizes what this is. It's just that it's more of a fundamentals thing. You can use kind of the same principle on smaller type issues, or you can scale it up. Like if you know, you lose your job and you're about to lose your house, that's a pretty big deal. So I mean, like that's a lot more complicated than in the grand scheme of things. Me complaining about that I had a couple of projects that had a little hiccup on them is nothing, right? Uh, but you can scale this up and down as needed. So a couple of tips that I would say. First of all, is like you got to get yourself out in the moment. Uh, there's a Bible passage, and this too shall pass, and I think that's probably applicable in this case. That you say, most of the time, I think everybody's been through some stuff, but it doesn't last forever. Um, the only thing that's permanent is death and taxes. So the thing is, you think like, hey, I just need to make it through this a little bit at a time. Kind of get yourself out of the moment. Don't have a pity party. That's the worst thing you can do. Just don't say why me, why like, give yourself a purpose, give yourself a reason to do the things you needed to do. In my case, it was okay. We hit some roadblocks. What can we do? Let's drop back and punt. Let's come up with a plan of action. Let's do some things that we need to do to make this thing go forward. Let's not sit around and talk about, uh, oh, why does this happen to me? Why is it, it doesn't matter. Like nobody cares. Like nobody wants to know about like, oh, poor guy. Honestly, no one cares. And the other thing is that there's a there's a difference between doing an honest assessment and saying, okay, uh, because we're not a trial, so we're not trying to lay fault. If I had somebody who didn't do something right, um, I need to learn from it, and maybe this person wasn't the right person for that assignment, or this guy, I can't have him do that again because he can't do it, and that's not personal. That's just business. You know, if we look at it from a physical standpoint, like we've used examples financially thus far. We've used examples from the professional development world. But say you're in the middle of a marathon and you're at mile 20 and you are flat out falling apart. You hit the wall, and it's like you're legitimately considering going over there and laying down on the sidewalk and just being like, okay, I'll let the medical crew come and get me. It's like that bad, right? Um, First things first, like, right, here's what you need to do. Don't have a pity party. Okay, you signed up for this voluntarily. Don't say why me. Like you paid the admission just like everybody else. Prioritize and execute. Put one foot in front of the other at the fastest rate that your body will allow you until you reach the finish line. That's your goal. That's your goal. One foot in front of the other, the fastest rate that you can possibly your body will allow you to handle until you reach the finish line. If it takes you 3 hours, it takes you 3 hours. But if you're honest with yourself, do it. And then you just got to bear down and do it. Now, when I'm saying this is barring injury or something. I mean, if you tore a meniscus in the middle of a marathon or something, I'm not advising you to keep going. But uh, so anyway, you just need to prioritize and execute what you're doing out there. Uh, Then, after you cross the finish line, they wrap you up in the little tinfoil blankets and they give you a donut and a banana and a Gatorade. And you use the last little bit of strength that you have in your body to hold up your finisher's medal. Hashtag I did it. Hashtag marathon. Hashtag 26.2. Hashtag, so that you're Insta famous. After you've done that, um, now's the time to go like, okay, where did this go wrong? Right? Um, where did what did I do to get to this point? Did I not taper for my training? Did I not train enough? Were my weekly miles off? Did I push too hard? Did I go out too? Was it a training error? Was it a tactical error? Did I start the first few miles too fast and couldn't hang on? And I'm oversimplifying this with a marathon, but this is anything in life. And you can do that assessment before it's over. So, like I said, you hit that really hard spot, and at mile 20, and then you come up with a plan. Okay, I'm going to finish this first, and maybe at mile 22, you're thinking in your head already. Okay, like what, uh, what, for the next time, what's happening, and also it's not a one-time thing. And I'm gonna let Hunter jump in a minute to kind of give us some examples from his first responder world of where he's been in maybe some situations where stuff just it went pear shaped on him, and where you're talking about legitimately the examples I've given so far have been pretty much professionally or physically fitness and stuff, where you're actually talking about there being life safety or there being peril, grave grave injury, bodily harm, death. So and I'm gonna let him jump in a second, but the main thing to remember is that when you get in a tight spot, that you're probably not the first person to ever be in a rough spot. And for 99.9% of the world, they don't care. I mean, I'm being honest. That's just not. They just don't care. Like maybe your mom cares, maybe a friend or two, and it's really more like if you were telling them, oh, that sucks, but it's just the way it is. Like most of the stuff you're just gonna have to learn how to deal with alone. Not saying that friends and family and stuff aren't gonna help, or I'm not meaning that at all. It's just that no one's gonna help you like you're gonna help you. So you need to be diligent of understanding that when you get in a tough spot, it's not the end of the world. A lot of it getting out is the same thing that keeps it from happening in the first place, which is coming up with a good plan, following the plan, and working hard to it. Hunter, you want to elaborate some?
Yeah, man. First I want to go off what you ended with of about taking care of yourself and being able to handle things. And you kind of touched on the first responder thing, and I don't know, we're going to get into that too much, but I will. So I don't know, man. We talked about this earlier. One, it's a pretty broad subject. I mean, you could go as doom and gloom or as lighthearted as you would want to. I don't know, we're out of coffee creamer, or my mom is going to die in the next 2 weeks, and I don't know what to do about it. There's both ends of the spectrum. But honestly, I think the best way, and I hope I'm not being a little bit too cliche, the best way to get out of trouble and to handle trouble is to not ever get in it. That's one of the reasons too, man, where, and there's a lot of people probably laugh and roll their eyes, say, oh, Hunter's just want to be, or he's trying to do all these things, and he's trying to act like this badass or something. And I can assure you that's not the case, man. I'm just personally, deep down, I'm just aware of my deficits. I know where I fall short. I try to work on. I'm definitely not anywhere remotely close where I want to be. I feel like I'm headed that direction. I'm tracking, but I also, I'm aware of my weaknesses. And that's where, talking about handling adversity. And like I said, we can talk about 100 different, scales and degrees of it. But I think, I got it wrote down on a whiteboard at work. I wrote it with Sharpie. Anybody knows me knows I think that Jocko Willink is like the man. And, I do. He's definitely got some really good. He just put it in simple terms for me. I guess maybe he's kind of Neanderthalic. Maybe I am too. Or maybe I just want to be. And he just put it down and kind of dumbed down monkey brain terms that I can understand. And he talks about there's two kind of like principles, combat principles, or whatever that he talks about. He talks about detached, detachment, detached command, or decentralized command. So he talks about detaching from a situation, or just detaching in general. He talks about prioritizing, executing when crap goes south. And honestly, man, I have found to where it's one of those things that I think one of the reasons it resonates so good with me is because I've been doing that. I continue to do that. And it seems like every really good outcome on any sort of situation, that's kind of the reason that it's a good outcome is because you prioritize and execute. Because, if you're next to water and the river's rising, what's your priority? Get the hell out of the water, right? What are you about to execute? I'm gonna get the hell out of the water. So you know what I'm saying? You're automatically kind of doing that. It just makes sense to me, at least. And whether it be laying sod and a rainstorm's coming, or a tree's laid across the road and the house is on fire. Prioritize, execute. And the biggest thing too is when people start to fail, is when they start letting their emotions get into play. You can talk to anybody that's ever been in a truly life-threatening situation. The people that can tell you the story about that, and the people that did something positive, did something productive, and they helped out, they were part of the solution and not the problem. Honestly, they were just kind of autonomous. They more reacted than they did thought. And yet again, going full circle, that's where training goes back. That if your job is a firefighter, be the best freaking firefighter you can be. Be in the best shape, know all the tactics, have a plan A, C, D, E, F, G. If you're a paramedic, if you're an EMT, if you're a banker, whatever your job is, know like primary, secondary, tertiary, the whole gamut of options and backups, so that whenever something happens, plan A doesn't work, which by the way, plan A usually doesn't work. You can go to B, and then when B doesn't work, you can go C, D, E. You can go until you either the situation changes, or the circumstances change, or you finally get the Q and it breaks through. So a couple parts of that, man, is like I always look at two parts. So talk about like a life-threatening situation first, and I've never been, there's somebody watching this thing that's had hot lead losing bomb. I ain't it, okay? So there's some straight up guys out there that's been through some stuff. I ain't it. I've been just close enough, just kind of on the fringes enough to kind of have some exciting stories, but I've never been really shot at. I've never been in a true like showing up, damn, here's my life expectancy type situation. I don't know about that one, maybe once. Anyway, so I've been around it. I haven't, I've never been in a combat scenario or anything like that. But I guess what I'm getting at is when any sort of life safety is involved, to me at least, when you're the man behind the trigger, no pun intended, when you're the one that's having to decide, do I go left or right, or what do I do? Literal, utter purity, human nature, chaos is going on. People are running, people are screaming, there's blood on the ground, etc. You really truly have to revert back to kind of how you're wired up as a person. And, you got your training base you're going to have to rely on. You got a fitness base that you better have. Otherwise, it's going to start affecting everything else. But I look at it like this. There's two sides. There's a thing, and it's like this in business. It's like this in life. It's like this in everything. There's two sides to it. It's good or bad, right? Black or white, good or bad, hot or cold. You're either an asset or you're a liability. You're either helping me or you're hurting me. Because if you're not doing either, you're hurting me. Okay? If I'll take this case for example, and this is a true story. I'm trying to keep this. I'm trying to put this as vague as I can. There was a situation a while back that I was in the area, and it's hard to keep vague. There's a situation. I was in the area, and a bystander came running by and said that there was someone, a person down. So I was not on any sort of official duty. I responded because I don't know, that's the type of person I am, and I don't know, I'm gonna help. So I ran up. Sure enough, guys down, got him up. And this dude was out. He was smoked. He was dead. And so with that, okay, prioritize execute, right? Guy's out. What do? Start CPR. You check this, check that. If he's got a knife sticking out of him, you might want to get the hell out of there. But this guy was down, so it was time to initiate CPR. You look around, and here's what's going to happen. And I'm going to tell you this for anybody that's ever been in a life-saving role, is about 2/3 of the people, they may even be certified, they may even be riding with you in a fire truck, or they might be riding up with you in a MRAP or something like that. Like 2/3 of the people there are going to be kind of freaking out a little bit. And it's up to you to be calm, especially if you're going to have any sort of productive role. And that's kind of what we're talking about, detaching emotionally, is, you talk to anybody in a life-saving role like that, some people say they're emotional, but for the most part, they don't really get emotional. They rely on that training base. But in this situation, a lot of the people, this was in a civilian scenario, a lot of people there, they were losing their freaking minds. And I'm not going to say that I'm so bad at anything, but I was calm. I've been in that situation before. I've done CPR before. It's, I don't know, I'm not saying it's not a big deal. It's definitely a tragedy for this guy and his family. But I've been in that scenario before, so it wasn't the end of the world for me. for me, it was more about the goal. The goal is to get this guy's blood flowing again, sustain him until EMS can arrive and then hand him off to them. In this scenario, the guy didn't make it, but after that, it was kind of like, holy cow, man. So many people were running around like chicken with their head cut off. They weren't doing anything remotely close to productive. If anything, they were in the way. I had people that had never, and I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I've done CPR enough times where I got it kind of, I know what to do. I had people that like work in offices and like had never even been around anything like that before. They were just absolutely arguing, like ready to fight me over what to do, and they'd never even been in that situation. But what it was is because they were emotional, they were freaking out, they weren't trained, they weren't prepared, and and sometimes life's like that. So what I've done with some of those type of situations, when I'm in a situation like that, I try to learn from it, and that's where you gotta have a training base. You gotta have a fitness base, I think, because the more physically prepared you are, it's hard to think. Here you go. You do a CrossFit workout and then try to do a math problem. You can't do it. Go try to take the perfect selfie, or go try to text your girlfriend or your wife. Don't text both at the same time. Try to text your girlfriend. Try to text your wife when you're about to fall out because you're breathing so hard because you just got done X, Y, or Z. You almost can't do it. Why? Because your brain doesn't work good when your body's trying to die. And that's physiology, So I think everything just gets full circle with that. But if you wanna break it down to some of those type things, like me personally, I couldn't do your job like day one. I'm sure I could in time, and you could do my job day one. I'm sure you could in time. That's where training comes down to it. If you're in any sort of emergency service, man, be that guy that people get pissed at because you want to train all the time. Just do it. Like Mark Garnappin with Fully Involved, he's got some really great stuff out there. Kind of keep your head in the game, and it's talking about giving all out effort and having an all in attitude amongst others. Like, be that guy, because honestly, I'm sure somebody in a fire department sitting around right now with their feet propped up, but I also guarantee you there's somebody somewhere in the fire department that's out there dragging hooves, crawling around, jacking doors open. Be that guy. Now, when we're going to get into a business world or a business, a business scenario or a more professional scenario, I'm fortunate enough to be in an emergency service scenario and a business scenario on a daily basis. So, you got to look at it like this, and Jocko's talked about this multiple times. A lot of military people have talked about this. And when people quit, it's two things. It's because they were looking at the big picture, and they were looking at they got emotional for one reason or another. Two, they're looking at the big picture. If you go talk to anybody that's ever done any sort of really long endurance, and I think everybody's guilty of this. I know I am, and you're probably about to start minding your head. Is if I tell you to go, like we're doing go ruck, it's going to be 40 miles. If you tell me to go ruck 40 miles and you start naming off all the places that's 40 miles from here, I'm going to say, hell no, and I'm not going. You kiss my butt, I'm going to stay in bed. That's a long way, man. I mean, it is. And you can't say it's not. Nobody can say 40 miles. Oh, it's not far. Even people that run 200 miles, it's like 40 miles a poke. If you say, let's go ruck 40 miles, walk 40 miles, run 40 miles, you're like, get out of here. But if you say, let's go run 2 miles. Okay, all right, we can do that. We can do 2 miles. Then when you get 2 miles, let's go 1 mile. Let's go 5 miles. Let's go 2 miles. If you break it down, you make your world smaller. And if you're running or something, everybody talks about running a mile. Like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. I can't do it. There's no way. Running a mile, if you've never run before, is a long way. It is. But if you say, I'm going to run to the mailbox, you're good. And then you get to the mailbox, I'm going to run to the next mailbox. And I'm going to run to the next mailbox. And the next mailbox. And before you know it, you look up and you're going 3 miles. And that's in fitness, but also that's in business. Anytime you got something going on, if you can just set benchmarks for yourself that, hey, by you and me were talking about last weekend in the woods, that sometimes, in a perfect world, we're going to get 100 foot of trench dug and, pipe laid in it today. All right, that's cool. But let's be honest, man, with all the resources you've got, the social structure of your company, or X, Y, Z, the weather, equipment breaking down, just all those X factors. Things aren't going to go that way. So say we get 60, then hey, guess what? After a little while, you may end up getting 100 feet laid. Why? Because you break it down to a manageable level. What's the old cliche about how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. And that's where detaching. Going back to the first one, detaching. That's where detaching can give you that vision, because when you're in the middle of it, man, your boss is chewing on you, and your alarm clock didn't go off, and just everything sucks. And you call it a soup sandwich. I call it a dumpster fire. I really like to call it quicksand. Man, you're fighting like hell, and you just can't get out of it. Just everything you touch is going to crap. You need less things to worry about. And you could say you need to break it down to priority asset or liabilities and assets. What's going to help me, what's going to hurt me. I'm going to stay away from all the stuff that's going to hurt me, and I'm going to get closer to all the things that's going to help me. Where are my strengths right now? What are my resources? Who's my guys I can rely on? Do I have anybody that can help me out? Do I have anything that can help me out? And get on board with those. If you got whether it be a spouse or a friend or a coworker or another department, even in a business sense, if you got another department that can help you out, man, reach across the lines and build that relationship with those guys to help you out. And if you got those liabilities, try to find a way to cut out their influence on whatever you're doing so that you can better do your job. So as your assets and liabilities part, but also detach from it, because when you're in the middle of the fight, whether it be a work problem or anything, when you're in the middle of a fight, man, you can't see what's going on around you because you're so wound up and you're so caught up in whatever you're doing. It's hard to look around and see it, the big picture, or see it from maybe even in another person's shoes, because maybe the reason that things aren't working out for you right now is because you're wrong. Maybe you really truly are blind to whatever you're doing for one reason or another, and maybe you really are screwing up. Maybe you're really going down the wrong path here. So if you can detach from that, step back away from it, and it doesn't have to be far. You don't have to take a 30,000 foot view, but you can step off the line a little bit and look around you and say, damn, why is this not working? I have to do that sometimes in my job. I've got 14 guys that work under me, and man, anybody talks about women having attitudes and moods, they've obviously never worked for a bunch of guys. If women are worse than guys when it comes to that, I have no desire for it. Especially if you get a bunch of middle-aged guys that don't take great care of themselves. They're the moodiest, it's awful. I always buy them like a box of Midol and just throw it out there on the table about once a year. When you get into that, you got to step off the line, and even though it may not even make any sense to you, if you have people under you, sometimes, as much as it will drive you crazy, you got to step off the line and look at it from their point of view, figure out why they don't want to do their job, figure out why it's not working, and try to adjust your tactics accordingly. Some of the guys that work with me, man, they total opposite views on life or anything for that matter than what I have. But at the end of the day, we all got to get a job done. We all sign a contract to do a certain thing and uphold a certain standard. And sometimes I have to totally change my approach, and I have to totally change sometimes even my expectations. I'll be honest with you, my current position I'm in right now, I've been there for 4 years. And when I first got there, I don't know, about a month of just kind of getting situated. About month 4 or 5, I would have hated to work for me, because I approached that thing like we were going to Paris Island, buddy. If you're late, you're getting rode up, or you're going home, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, just raw. I think I was like knifing at people every day. But it ended up, it caused more problems for me than anything. So what I have to do, I had to step back, look at what I was doing. I had to kind of take some, I had to take some personal observation of why things weren't working. And I had to break it down and figure out why. That's kind of the professional end of it. Break it down, detach from it, figure out what you got to do. Fitness wise, man, and I'm not an expert, but personal testimony here. Earlier this week, last week, whatever, I don't know really when it happened, but I really got off the track. I didn't necessarily go backwards, but I definitely was not making any progress. You know, I wasn't sitting around eating donuts or anything, but I don't know. I wasn't eating like I normally was. Took a day or two off from the gym, which is terrible because Cameron Haynes has got a saying that moderation is for cowards. I love that saying, but unfortunately, I guess I take everything to the extreme. And if I miss one day at the gym, I'm going to miss about 3 days at the gym. If I take a day off, I'm going to take about a month off. That's me. For some reason, I'm the whole, if I have one, I'm going to have 15 kind of thing. And that goes for bad stuff too. Didn't really eat that great. Kind of wasn't really. I took a few days off from the gym. Then when I did go back, I was just kind of half-assing it the whole time. So, a couple days ago, I went in there, put on some good music, and just loaded the bar up. And was like, "You're gonna do this." Like, I wrote it. I wrote it down on a notepad on my phone. This is what you're gonna do. You're not going to do it at the time because it's hard, but you got to do it. This is what needs to be done, and that's where talking about having that purpose is. Every time the weight gets heavy or I don't want to do it or something, I always think about what I'm one day going to be called upon to use my strength for or my fitness base for. Man, excuse me. That's rough. Anyway, everybody at home just probably yelled or yawned. But no, whenever something gets heavy, I try to think about what I'm one day gonna have to use my fitness base for, my strength base for. I always try to think about the consequences of not having it. But I also just right now these days I'm thinking about Go Ruck. I'm thinking about when the sun's coming up in Savannah and you're feeling like you got run over by a freaking truck and damn. Anyway, I gotta stop that. But I'm thinking about when that sun's coming up in Savannah on Friday morning and you're feeling like you got hit by a truck. You're gonna be glad you pushed it a little bit in the gym. So you gotta think about the outcome you want and what it takes to get there. And the other part too is sometimes, and this kind of goes back to detachment. Sometimes you need to reset. Yesterday, I guess it started Tuesday. It's Tuesday night. We ate dinner at about 7:00, 7:30. And I said, we had jambalaya and king cake and Mardi Gras, and it was fantastic.
You gotta stop that, man.
I'm gonna get fired. Oh man! So Tuesday we had king cake and jambalaya. It was eyesight, but anybody that knows anything about either of those are not very good for you. We generally eat really good around here, and I ate like that, and I was like, man, I got to stop. So Tuesday night we finished eating about 7:30 or whatever, and I said I'm not eating. So I didn't eat anything from Tuesday night all the way up until last night, like 6 or something. It was like 22, 23 hour fast, and I think fasting is pretty good. I always feel pretty good after I do it. It's god awful for anybody that's ever been around me. Like I'm like the Snickers commercial where I turn into like a total Nancy whenever I don't eat. Like I'm not myself. But fasting's pretty good. And if anything, I wanted to do it some of this Go Ruck coming up because I know there's probably a food deficit there. I know there's gonna be a food deficit, and I'm trying to kind of combat that a little bit and get a little bit more used to not having, just a buffet in front of me all the time like I would normally do. So with that, though, I fasted for like 22, 23 hours. And, I'm just kind of doing that, not so much the actual benefits of fasting. We'll get into that one day, but, just doing that. I started off last night with a really good meal. And today, good meal. Tonight, good meal. So I'm back on track. It was the disconnect or the detachment that we're talking about that I needed to flip the record and kind of get on the right path. I'm off this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I got some stuff coming up. I'm trying to really want to do a long ruck sometime in the next couple days. Probably going to get up early tomorrow morning, go to the gym, even though I'm off. Probably get up early and do that. And, try to at some point this weekend get kind of nasty and dirty and cold and try to do something stupid. ruck on my back. But so yeah, man, like I think we kind of got some of the same views on that stuff. You got to break it down. You got to kind of, as Jocko talks about, prioritize it and execute it. You got to figure out where your what's going to help you, what's going to hurt you, and stay away from those things. And then I totally 100% agree with what you're saying about when the smoke is settled and the dust cleared. You really need to kind of go back and figure out what the heck happened, how that happened, and depending on the severity of it, you need to figure out how to never let that happen again. I've been in situations before, maybe say at work, and even with the fire department. I'll tell you this. This is kind of without getting too detailed too. So people, by no means I consider myself a big hero, door-in firefighter or anything like that. Really funny story about the first door I ever kicked in, by the way. But anyway, I'll tell you that one sometime. It was a total joke. So anyway, so one of the first calls, it was one of the first calls. I hadn't been on the fire department. We had a call for a person down, and it was female, and she basically someone had found her. She was unresponsive, and I got there, and luckily the ambulance was pulling in about the same, a little bit, maybe right behind me or something like that. It's been years ago now, but anyway, got there. She was out, and she was unresponsive. She ended up not making it, but I was kind of like freaking out on the inside because I've never been in that situation before. I didn't know what to do, and where I live at is a pretty remote area, and we don't really have, you call 911, you're going to wait a few minutes. It's not like, a lot of urban areas where you're getting off the phone and you can hear the sirens, coming around the corner. You got a pretty significant wait. And I was in that situation where it was pretty dire circumstances. If you had been put on the spot and you didn't perform, it was pretty dire. You could, affect the outcome, whether someone lives or dies. And then that did a couple things for me. It kind of told me how serious it was. I got to plug my computer in. I'm not leaving. It kind of told me how serious the situation was, but it also, it kind of, really kind of pissed me off a little bit. It scared me a little bit because, I realized that you don't know what you don't even, there's certain things you don't even know that you don't know. And then when I was in this situation, it made me realize, like, man, I really got a gleaming deficit here and something I don't know, and I didn't know what to do. And if you've ever been in a life or death situation and you don't know what to do, it's pretty freaking harrowing because, it's pretty harrowing because I've lost my life. Never mind, there it is. It's pretty harrowing because you don't, it's a hell of a lonely feeling. And I can't really, I guess I'm sitting here stuttering because I can't really describe it. But anybody that's ever been in a life or death situation and didn't know what to do, that's probably the worst feeling in the world. You're still lost, man. Like, you're no help. You got somebody literally sitting there looking at you like, damn it, fix this. You don't know what to do. That's awful. Absolutely awful. Probably the worst feeling I've ever felt, like, in my entire life. And I'll be honest with you, like, it changed me. And I think for the better, because after that, I was like, dude, you got to fix this. And I always think about, like, what if this happened? What if that happened? What if a plane fell out of the sky? What if a two-story house caught on fire? What if that house caught on fire? I done burnt down every house in my neighborhood. You go for a jog and you look at that house, you're like, man, what if that one caught on fire? What if the fire was in the front? What if it was in the back? What was a car on fire in the garage? What if it was people trap? What if it wasn't? Where did I park the truck? What hose did I pull? But I guess what I'm saying with that is, you can do two things. One, look at why you performed poorly. And sometimes, without taking the blame off yourself, or off myself in this situation, sometimes when you fail or when things go south and things suck, sometimes when that happens, man, it's not really your fault. Like, that's kind of like the old fool me once, shame on you kind of thing. But just don't get fooled twice, because and something might happen here in 5 minutes, throws me for a loop. But after that one night right there, I can assure you, in that same situation, I got a plan. Matter of fact, I've been in that same situation half a dozen times since then, and I've done okay. So I guess what I'm saying is, in Crabtree South, look at why it happened and develop a plan how to never let that happen again. Um, you know, but use that as your motivation. And when you start wanting to take a day off, and you start wanting to take it easy for a minute, you start wanting to back off the intensity or let up for a little bit, or maybe you feel sorry for yourself, bring the pity party out. Misery loves company. You're gonna start doing that, man. Just think about that one time when you failed, and think about how bad that sucked. There's a really good book. It's called Mind Gym. Right when I was in high school, and the guy talked about not fearing failure, but hating failure. And I think failure is a very important part. Everybody's really cliche because I don't lose, I'll win or I'll learn. And I mean, there's kind of some truth to that, but you don't necessarily have to fear failure, because if you start fearing it, it's going to have some adverse consequences. But I think you really need to hate it. If you fail at something, figure out how to never do that again and never go down that road again. And that's what I've done with some pretty rough situations, is figured out how to, I know how crappy that felt. I don't ever want to go back there. So I use that as motivation to, train harder, to go to the gym, to, be smarter, all that type of stuff. So
if I could jump in with a counterpoint there. I'm getting some feedback again. Is that on your end or my end, Hunter?
I'm good over here.
Okay, it's just on my end. There you go. Okay, well it quit now. But one thing that I'd say I'd kind of put as a counterpoint to that is that what you said about failure, that's kind of interesting. I'd never heard it put that way. But I'd say that if you don't have it's a little bit, when I say failure, if you're talking about in that line of work where someone can die, that's a little bit different. But I would say that if you aren't putting yourself in positions where failure is a real thing from time to time, then you're not doing enough. So I can agree that you should hate failure, and not to fear it. But I would say that if there's not a real chance of failure from time to time on stuff, then you're not squeezing the most out of the lemon that is life. And I'm gonna try to move towards wrapping this up, so we're gonna try to keep it under the hour mark. We're already probably at 50 minutes now. One of the last things that I kind of wanted to say is it was great to hear Hunter's take. I talked about stuff more professionally, and from a business and relationship standpoint. And then Hunter, I think, took it a lot to more on the fitness and more of the higher risk type stuff that could be exposed. You talk about blood, guts, and glory over there. But one thing I want to say too, and I thought about it today when I was riding home, and so if you go on to if you browse any of the social media stuff, and you me and Hunter have very, very similar, I want to call it taste, but I'm sure that if we were compare social media pages and people that we like, there'd be a large overlap, probably 60 to 70% of the people we share. One thing you'll see is there's a lot of these like motivational quotes, and what's that guy's name? The hip hop preacher, E.T., whatever his name is, and the guy from First Form, Andy something. And I think those guys, I think those guys are great.
His podcast much.
I hadn't listened to his podcast. I mean, I've seen a couple things. He's got that CEO project, right? The MFCEO project.
Some of his stuff is a little bit much, but some of his stuff is pretty good. Like he's got one. He's got so many. I found his shorter podcasts, they're like 20 minutes long. They're solid. Like some of them really good. I'm talking about, for anybody that's listening to Dustin, maybe it's called the MF CEO project. You can guess what MF stands for. This guy, he runs First Form. Pretty good, though. Like, listen to the one on selective urgency. And I'll say you this. Be careful, though. If you listen to that podcast at 1.5 speed, you're going to be driving like 80 miles an hour. You're going to go into the gym and you're just going to walk through the glass. You're not even going to open the door. Just Be careful.
And it's great. It's great you talk about that because I'm gonna. That's exactly what I was fixing to touch on, and I am so glad this is segues perfectly into what I'm gonna say. All right, so I have found, this is me personally, and I'm not speaking for anyone else. I'm just speaking for myself. That motivation is great, but it's crack cocaine for people who like to do things. And I'm gonna explain it, and I'm gonna get you going right now. You can go and listen to a podcast and go get fired up. You can listen to Andy talk. You can listen to E.T., the hip hop preacher, who's like, "There's 24 hours in a day. Everybody gets the same 24 hours. Hustle, don't sleep, eat an egg, like go out there and earn and stuff and everything." People who are doers, like you got them at work, like the guy just crushes it or whatever. They do it in silence. They do it in silence. They don't need somebody to motivate them. They're dedicated. They don't have to get fired up by a podcast. They don't have to go get the t-shirt. They don't have to get the back tattoo. They go in, they do the work, they do it at the pace they're supposed to, they prioritize and execute, and they leave out the door. Those motivational, like, get in there and look at them, I think those guys are energetic. I think what they're saying is true. I'm just saying that I believe, and this is for me personally, some people can feel free to chime in and say, "You're full of crap. Those guys are awesome." I agree. The dude drives a Lambo. I drive a not. So, I mean, okay, yeah, you got me. I mean, they made more money than I probably ever will. But what I am saying is that you can't sustain that level of motivation. As a person, I don't have that personality. I can't sustain that for 24 hours a day. Maybe that's the way those people are wired, and that's cool. But what I'm saying is, for somebody like me, it's better for you to go in and you say, "Okay, I'm just going to put my head down and work, like just steady, just like the little engine that could, and get your stuff done," instead of like having to hit these motivational, because motivation, you can be motivated as you want to be. I can be motivated to go win the Super Bowl and it ain't gonna happen. I can be motivated that I'm gonna go out there and pick up the rear end of this F-150 and move it across the thing. I can be motivated to make $1 million.
You need to do that.
Yeah. So, anyway, that I do want to say that. Let's see.
No, absolutely. I'm glad you said that because I think it was so I guess everybody like knows like Jocko and that whole crowd, but Echelon Front, like the consulting company's got for anybody that watches this, you get Echelon Front's website. They do business consulting, but they have a little tab on their webpage called Platoon Hut. It's like a 1 or 2 paragraphs, pretty short. You can read it in like a minute. Some blurb. It's usually like got some actionable points. Like here's something you can actually do. That's the only catch. That's what I always tell people. That's the only catch with anything, and that's how you know when something is oh, that was good. I'm glad I listened to that. Versus like that was solid. That's what I like, and I think it's one of the reasons that Jocko stuff really resonates with me. There's actionable points in there that you can highlight off of. There's things you can do, and that's where that Platoon Hut on Echelon Front's website comes in. But I think it was on there. I know JP Donnell, he's part of that crowd, like awesome guy. I think I relate to him more than anybody. But he talked about motivation always runs out. And then when motivation runs out, all that's left is discipline. And that's pretty much exactly what you said, just in another set of words. Because me personally, man, and I'll just call myself what it is. I'm not that freaking disciplined. I want to be. Like, I wish I could get up at 4:30 every morning and take a picture of my watch and put it on and be like, 3-word most motivational quote in the world. Like, I can't. I don't do it. Then I'll wake up at 4:30 and I stand up and I'm like, woohoo. And I fall back asleep for about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm like, damn it. And then I get up again and I get some seesaw every morning. But I try to. Honestly, that's one of the reasons I've had a lot of people go, man, you're so motivational. I'm like, well, I'm so motivational because I suck at being disciplined. I suck at just inherently doing the right thing all the time. But that's one of the reasons I try to surround myself with motivational people, listen to motivational stuff, listen to podcasts, and read, and blah, 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 because it makes up for the personal deficit of discipline that I have. And I think inherently some of it's rubbed off, and maybe got me slightly more disciplined than the average Joe, because I seem to have a lot of people think I'm insane for some of the stuff I do, simply out of discipline. But you're absolutely right, man. The people that are out there killing it and getting after it and just like straight up just doing the thing are the ones that aren't sitting here on YouTube patting each other on the back and, all this type of stuff. They're the ones out there that it's 9:27. Their asses are in bed because they got to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning like Bradley Farms and watching us do it. Those are the people that are doing it, man. And, and that's purely out of discipline or it's out of love for their, for whoever's depending on them. And, it's just like Justin said on here, man, it's chess. It ain't checkers. It's it's the long game. At face value, it's easy to, say you want to go run through your problems and just go kill it. But man, there's so many things coming to play with it. It's kind of what you just said. Motivation at the end of the day is going to run out. All that's left is your discipline. And I think that's one of the reasons it's good to build. It's good to build good habits. And that's one of the reasons. And I'm not a jacked up, fit, badass or anything like Paul, but that's one of the reasons I harp so much. That's one of the reasons I harp so much on having a good fitness base, man. It's because
I'm looking for the Paul you're looking for.
The better physical shape you're in, it's just you're gonna be less tired. And when you start getting tired, you start dipping into those emotions, and you start making bad decisions, and things start falling apart. But no, man, I totally agree with what you're saying about the whole selective urgency, motivation. Like, amen. I got you.
All right. Well, guys, we're going to move towards wrapping this up. Glad everybody could, if you're watching this later, thanks for having it. If our folks on Instagram, thank you guys for joining in. We definitely appreciate it. Me and Hunter would probably do this anyway, but we definitely like other people jumping in to see what we have to say and listen to our thoughts from the peanut gallery. Main thing to take away from this is that everybody has dumpster fire, soup sandwiches, quicksand in their life, whatever you want to call it, and those things aren't going to last forever. But there are better ways to deal with them. There's things that you can do that don't give up, don't quit, obviously, and just come up with a really simple is better, simple game plan, execute, go with it. And then after the dust settles, the smoke clears, come back and see what happened and how do you move forward. So, behalf of myself and Hunter, you got anything else?
Yeah, we got a minute 19 before the Instagram cuts off here on the hour limit. But no, man, I totally agree. I think it was a really good talk. For anybody that gets to this point, Justin, I know you're watching, buddy. I'm gonna have you on here at some point. We just gotta figure that one out. Have your people call my people. But no, man, I think it's good. I think it's a good subject, and I think it's something I'm glad we talked about. That's kind of the three little birds on our on the hard work, fitness, everything is leadership, hard work, fitness, in no particular order. They go hand in hand. But if you got problems, man, break them down. Find ways you can take actionable steps to fix them. And just don't get bogged down, detached from it. Whatever you got to do. People that are watching this, I'm trying to wrap this up. I got 37 seconds. People that are watching this, if you got ideas for this thing, if you got something you want to see us cover, if you got a subject you want to see talked about, let us know. Hit us up on Instagram or YouTube, whatever you prefer, and we'd love to get to it. We got some cool stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks, and I'm good. That's all I got.
All right, everybody have a good night. Go recover from Valentine's Day. Everybody needs it. Later.
Yeah, man. Appreciate y'all watching. You too, good.
Later, man.
All right.